Usually when we talk about high-end audio, we're picturing these massive receiver stacks, glowing tubes, huge knobs.
Oh, audiophile altar, yeah.
Right. Gear that just demands to be seen. But today, we're looking at the complete opposite.
We are.
We're doing a deep dive into the Kramer 900XL stereo power amplifier. And this is a piece of hardware that is, it's actively trying not to be seen. It's barely bigger than a smartphone. We're talking something like 4.7 by 2.8 inches. And yet it's the muscle behind a huge number of professional presentation setups.
It really is a David and Goliath situation. We're looking at the spec sheet for this unit, and I guess the mission here is to figure out how something the size of a deck of cards drives a whole room full of sound without, melting.
And without sounding like a cheap clock radio.
Exactly. This falls under their Kramer Tools line. The whole philosophy there is solving these messy, real-world infrastructure problems in very, very tight spaces.
Okay, so let's strip it down. At the most basic level, what is the 900XL actually doing in the signal chain?
It's the bridge. So think about the audio coming out of a laptop or maybe a projector. That's a line-level signal.
Okay.
It has voltage, but almost zero current. So if you wired your laptop directly to a big passive speaker, you'd hear, well, nothing.
You need power. You need something to physically move the speaker cone.
That's the job. It takes that weak signal, either from an RCA or a 3.5 millimeter jack, and it boosts it up to 10 watts RMS per channel into a 4-ohm load.
Which, to be fair, isn't exactly shaking the walls volume.
No, but in a conference room.
In a conference room, 10 watts is plenty. But here's the engineering puzzle that stood out to me in the docs. To get 10 watts of power out of a box this tiny, you have to manage heat. And the specs make a big deal about Class D operation.
That is the absolute key to the whole form factor.
I think a lot of people see Class D and they immediately assume the D stands for
Digital.
Digital, exactly.
It's a very common mistake. It actually just refers to the order of amplifier classes, A, B, C, and then D. It's all about the switching.
Okay, so how does it work?
Well, an old school Class A amp is kind of like a dimmer switch that's always halfway up. It's constantly burning power, even when it's silent, so they get really hot.
Whereas Class D is more like a light switch.
Precisely. It's switching the power transistors fully on or fully off hundreds of thousands of times a second. And because it's not lingering in that halfway state, it wastes very little energy as heat.
And if you aren't generating heat, you don't need giant aluminum heat sinks or cooling fans.
Which is why you can shrink the whole thing down to fit in the palm of your hand. It can sit inside a stuffy ceiling or a crowded rack and just run cool.
Speaking of crowded racks, that brings us to the control side.
Yeah.
I noticed the spec sheet lists RS-232 support. That's a serial port.
Yep.
To me, that just screams, this is not for the average consumer.
Oh, no, that's for the pros. If you mount this amp behind a ceiling tile, you can't climb a ladder every time you want to change the volume.
Of course not.
RS-232 lets a room automation system like a Crestron or something similar talk directly to the amp.
So that volume slider on the touch panel on the conference table is actually sending code to this little box hidden somewhere in the ceiling.
Right. And that's the line. That separates consumer gear from integrated systems.
The physical design doubles down on that too. The sheet mentions you can fit 3 of these units side by side in a single 1U rack space.
That is gold for systems integrators. Rack space is expensive real estate.
Sure is.
So if you're powering, say, 3 different breakout rooms, being able to slot 3 amps into one tiny row is a huge, huge advantage.
It's just so dense.
Yeah.
And looking at the price, it seems to be around $250.
Yeah.
Discounted, you're paying for that density and that professional reliability.
You're also paying for the noise floor. The specs list a signal-to-noise ratio of 85 dBA and a bandwidth up to 25 kilohertz.
Which means, in plain English,
it means it's quiet when it's supposed to be quiet. A lot of cheap amps have this constant background hiss, this noise floor. Yeah. That just drives you crazy during the silent parts of a presentation. The 900XL is designed to be transparent. You hear the content, not the hardware.
So it really does seem like the 900XL is the ultimate fixer. It bridges that gap between, say, a personal device and actual room-filling sound. It stays cool, and it integrates into the whole automation system.
It's the invisible infrastructure. If the audio in your meeting works perfectly, you never think about the amp, and that's the goal.
So here is a thought to leave you with. We've got professional-grade, high-efficiency amplification that literally fits in a pocket. If the 900XL is already this small, how long until the amplifier just disappears entirely?
What do you mean by that?
How much smaller can this technology get before the amp just vanishes into the drywall, or maybe becomes a microchip inside the speaker cable itself.
A truly invisible sound system.
Something to look out for in your next meeting. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.